Hi, I'm Irlam, co-convener for the Victorian Gay and Lesbian Rights Lobby, and you're here to meet your candidates for the 2014 state election. We're getting here at Hares and Hyenas, thanks to prideTV.7 and our other partners in the media, starobserver.com.au. Today we're going to be talking about diverse families and particularly that good old topic of adoption, and here to join us is Martin Foley, the member for Irlam Park, Sam Hibbins, the Greens candidate for Patten, Fiona Patten from the Sex Party, and the member for Patten for the Liberal Party, Clem Brown. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you.
For having us.
It's an exciting time. Look, this is one of those, everybody thinks it's a concern topic, but you know, we're in 2014 and so many people, when you talk to them, go, oh God, I can't believe that hasn't happened. You know, there's hundreds of children out there in Victoria who are living in diverse family structures, who only have the legal protection of one parent, because we haven't changed the Adoption Act. I guess the question is, will your party change the Adoption Act?
Start with me. Thanks, Corey. Yes, Labor is committed to a process of making sure that the legal haze that more than hundreds, probably thousands of children and families are operating in. LGBTI families are part of a spectrum of diverse families that are being discriminated against for no good reason. And for goodness sake, if New South Wales can resolve this issue, if Western Australia can resolve this issue, what is holding Victoria back other than a commitment to leadership to make it happen? So, in particular the case of dealing with known adult, with known children adoption, and that covers a variety of different fields, Labor will act in its first term to deal with that. In addition to that, there's a range of complex other matters, still largely unresolved from 2007 Law Reform Committee, Commission that needs to be addressed. The law, technology has moved on in a lot of those areas. Labor will send all of those package of issues in a reference to the Law Reform Commission to be dealt with, and let's resolve this issue once and for all and move on.
Sam, what's the Greens policy?
Look, I think it's fantastic that we have so many diverse families in Victoria where there are LGBTI people as a parent, co-parents or carers, and we want to strengthen and protection those families, strengthen and protect those families. So we want to move to amend the adoption law to ensure that there is no discrimination based on sexuality for adoption, because the law needs to catch up with the reality of children's lives. Victoria is lagging behind the rest of Australia and some parts in the world, and that's just not acceptable. So we need to act quickly to protect families and to protect and look after children.
Okay.
I know it is a bizarre anomaly that in 2014, after all the changes we went through in 2008, that we didn't actually change the Adoption Act. And certainly I think a voice like the Sex Party in there can help move this along and be a really vocal voice for it. I mean, this has been our policy since we were first invented, and in fact it was probably one of the reasons that we established the party, was because of these anomalies and discriminations around same-sex couples and around our community. It's very personal for me as well that my sister is gay and she can't adopt her own child. So I do have a real personal connection with this, which means that I will be even more vehement about it within Parliament. But how can we recognise IVF for same-sex couples, yet we don't let same-sex couples adopt the very children that they create?
Clem, your sceptics said you delivered nothing for our community, but you delivered things like gay sex conviction expungement. You've been a strong advocate. What can you do on adoption?
Well, this is something I'm really passionate about, Corey. I've had the pleasure of working with Rainbow families over the last few years and getting up to speed on this issue. This was something that was recommended when Labor was last in government. Nothing happened, and this is something which I've been working behind the scenes. I've prepared a paper for the Premier. The Premier's indicated publicly that he is open to reviewing the issue of same-sex adoption. And for me personally, I just think it's a no-brainer. We've got kids who, what is in their best interest is I think is the test. This isn't really an LGBTI rights issue. It's a right to the child issue, which brings in a lot more people to be active and vocal supporters of it as well. We'll help it get it over the line, because if you've got kids who have no other adults in their lives who have any interest in them whatsoever, other than their same-sex parents, surely it's in their best interest to have the legal certainty of having the status of having two parents. It's a no-brainer for me, and it's certainly something which I will continue to work behind the scenes to achieve should I be re-elected.
So it's a no-brainer for you. What about for your party?
Well, the current position is that the Premier's indicated that he's open to the issue. I've prepared a paper over the course of this last winter break, and he's got that. And I don't know when he's going to respond to that, but certainly it's something which he has indicated that he's very receptive to the ideas which I've discussed.
So we've got 5 weeks in the campaign. Maybe we'll hear more about this down the track.
I don't know, Corey, but certainly if I'm the member for Patten after the next election, it's something which I will continue to work on, should it not be resolved prior to the election. And as you pointed out, there's a number of issues which I've had some success working with my colleagues to achieve things that should have been done 30 years ago, and such as the expungement of gay-sex convictions.
Martin, why another inquiry?
There's a lot of consequential issues that have evolved since 2007. The issue wandered off into this COAG advisory group that started and then fell over. We've seen technology move along, we've seen interstate and inter-country arrangements change, and more the point, as much as we think we know it all, and then the big ticket items of the direction for this, yes, I think it's glaringly obvious that the changes that we've committed to have to happen. But what are the consequences? There's complexities around a whole range of issues, interstate arrangements, a whole range of matters. We want to make sure that the community has the opportunity to submit to the Law Reform Commission, and that there's the opportunity for that professional body to really get it right.
So all of those other issues, apart from the pure fact that we're in a same-sex relationship, exist today for heterosexual couples, interstate, all those recognitions.
Yep.
Why can't we just in the first 100 days get rid of those words man and women and still do that inquiry when it comes down the track?
In terms of whether it's 100 days or across the course of the term, Labor wants to get it right.
Okay.
In the course of that term, the first term, should we be elected, the commitment is particularly in the obvious area of so many different complexities of known adult, known children adoption. We want to move as quickly as we possibly can there, and then in the other arrangements, refer those to the Law Reform Commission to make sure that the complexities, and it is complex, are got right. So no unintended consequences, no messing up, and that we make sure that we build a framework that will endure and bring LGBTI and diverse families into the same realm as rights that everyone else has. For goodness sake, if the Victorian government targets same-sex couples to be model foster carers, how on earth can we continue to justify a system that excludes those same people from an arrangement of adoption?
That's exactly what I was going to ask Sam. How can we do this? Where the state relies on same-sex couples to be able to foster kids that need protection, why wouldn't we extend that? And what can the Greens actually do to make it happen?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Voters out there can have confidence that they elect a Green, whether it's myself in Patten or other Greens standing in upper house or lower house seats, that will be able to act on this issue. We won't have to seek permission from our leaders or the cabinet or the rest of our party to act, because it's written into our policies and it's part of our values. So we'll be able to act immediately on this and not have to wait to get our party's permission.
Pete?
Yeah, look, I think we would be a very vocal voice on this, and as I said earlier, I mean, this is something that we're passionate about. And I do really question the need for yet another inquiry and yet another few years to go past. We have got examples in the other states. I mean, as you yourself said, Martin, I mean, for goodness sake, New South Wales got it through. We've been able to do it with IVF. We've been able to do it with so many other issues. I don't think that we need to go back to the community and ask what they want, because I think we know what they want. And I think we should just be doing this, and we should be introducing the legislation. Yes, there is a review time, but I think we know enough to introduce legislation now.
Cora, I think it's quite insulting for my friend Martin here to be suggesting a two-step process, because sure, the known families is an easy sell for the community. The harder one to get across the line is the issue of stranger adoptions, and to separate one from the other, I think is really quite insulting to the rainbow families, because they should be in a position where they are treated equally as heterosexual couples who may want to enter into stranger adoption.
So just to explain for people back at home, known adoption is where there's an existing relationship between the child and their parents, and stranger adoption colloquially is referred to where there isn't that existing relationship occurring today. Does your party's policy distinguish between the two?
In terms of an approach, a staged approach, yes, because there are complexities in the process. And to be lectured by Clem Newton-Brown in the Liberal Party, where he can't even commit that what he says is his personal position, that's the insulting position. The Liberal Party's position is to do nothing. Labor is committed to a process of making sure that in this next term of the Parliament, that Labor addresses this issue head on, first and foremost, in the thousands of families out there now, where families are together and aren't being recognised in a legal haze. Remove that haze, give those families some certainty. And in the complexities, we might think we're all experts here, but the reality is it's a complex issue, and we want to make sure that we get that right by seriously referring the matter to the Law Reform Commission, which will take expert advice from the community to get it right. So to be blunt, to be elected by the Liberal Party on this is insulting. His position is to do nothing. His position is to do no position.
Let me just be clear on one thing. Is the ALP position to make change on known and stranger, and the question is how?
Exactly.
Okay. And is your position, I'm going to get back to you.
Well, my position is that I think it's an insulting proposition. Now, I've prepared a paper for the Premier to consider, and I am hopeful that we will be able to achieve something that's decent and fair and not insulting to rainbow families.
All right, that's all we have time for. Always one of those passionate topics we'll be talking about the election. Thank you for tuning in to meet your candidates here at Hares and Hyena. I'm Irlam from the Victorian Gay and Lesbian Rights Lobby.